Fiction and reality. New stories, new ideas. Little Beth Entertainment.
It's episode 105 of The Rocketry Show at TheRocketryShow.com. We are joined by Tim Van Milligan of Apogee Components. We're going to have a great time talking about all the new things happening at Apogee. We'll have that conversation right after our first tip of the hat, and thanks to some of our patrons right here at The Rocketry Show. The Rocketry Show would like to thank the following patrons for their support: JohnRocket.com, Jason Rotney, Sean Falkingham, Joe S., Paul Olivieri, Sam Feinberg, Michael Aylward, Brian Schenkenberger, E. Hutnell, John Thompson, Mark McBride, Doug Wade, C. McCauley, Carl Hunting, the Piedmont Student Launch Team, Steve S., Chris Irving, Dave Simmons, SBR Fusion Rocket.biz, John Kusher, Christopher Short, Kelsey Black, Brian Renneker, and Jason Rotney. If you wish to show your support and become a patron of The Rocketry Show, just visit us at support.TheRocketryShow.com.
Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running.
Welcome to The Rocketry Show.
All right, lift off and the clock has started. Yes, sir. Reading loud and clear.
A podcast that is all about advanced and high-power rocketry. Amateur-built rockets, starting at mid-power to higher-power versions. This program is hosted by the team who loves the smell of burning rocket propellant in the morning. Here are CG, Gene, and model rocket guy, Jesse Yu.
Welcome to another edition of The Rocketry Show at TheRocketryShow.com. I'm CG.
I'm Gene.
And I'm model rocket guy, Jesse Yu.
All right, we've got a great show here on The Rocketry Show. I am happy to announce that we've got Tim Van Milligan from Apogee Components on the show with us. We're going to be talking about what's new at Apogee, including RockSim and all that. So,
Yes.
we're looking forward to all this stuff here. So welcome to the show, Tim.
Well, thank you. It's good to be on here.
It's great having you on again here. It's a pleasure and an honor to have you on the show.
Well, thank you. It is an honor for me as well to be on this show.
All righty, so we're going to get things started here. Jesse's got a whole line of questions all lined up, and Jim and I will be chiming in as needed. So we'll let Jesse get started on this here.
Tim, thank you once again for meeting with us. Mr. Rocket, as we all know,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely.
Right.
So, and I have the distinct privilege and honor to get to fly with you at a lot of different launches. We just had a launch on Saturday, and I got to see you fly a Der Big Max, I believe, something that you're carrying there at Apogee Components.
Right.
So that was kind of cool.
Whenever we get a rocket, we got to fly it. So
Absolutely.
They're made to fly.
So, yeah, for sure. So you guys build it, and then you fly them and test them, and put the description of the website as on the website for the products that you have. Some of the pictures, obviously, you take and post on there. So, website is fantastic. And a few things for you, Tim, just so you know. As a Colorado native, I go to Apogee because you're 40 minutes from my house. And I'm able to go and pick up components from you quickly, from good old Apogee Components. And I just need to let you know, just off the top here, the staff that you guys have is very helpful. They're all very welcoming. And you know what I like about the people that you have at your shop at Apogee Components, Tim, is they know what they're talking about. And I got a few people, that I speak to every time I go in there. I have to talk to West. I have to talk to Samuel. And one thing about Samuel too is he's all I have to do is, hey Sam, I need this, and this, and seconds later it's in my hand. And Michelle, your office manager, she's terrific, very knowledgeable, and I'm glad that you have the crew that you have there. It's very impressive.
First class operation.
Exactly,
Right.
for training a great crew.
well, thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but it helps to have really good people that are willing to learn and learn quick. And, have this attitude of helping people. And that's what it's all about.
Yeah, the customer service is top notch. And a big shout out to your former employees that, aren't with us anymore there at Apogee. I still, Sarah and all them, they did a great job for you as well. So hats off to them as well. Thank you, for all that. So Tim, exciting things happened last weekend. For the National Association of Rocketry, we all got to see your presentation for NARCon during the Manufacturers Forum. And I heard a lot of news that you were announcing there, and kind of want to reiterate some of that for the folks who weren't able to listen to NARCon. And hopefully you can do some of that here, if that's okay with you.
Right.
Had a couple of questions I wanted to start off with. So your most popular release that you have recently that is manufactured there at Apogee Components is the X15.
Yes.
Having some pretty good success with that one, right?
Right. Yeah. It caught us by surprise on the demand for it. But we adapted, and pretty much the nice thing about it is everything's made in-house. So it was just a matter of just buckling down and putting in a few extra hours to get caught up and get everything out the door.
A few extra hours. I know you've been working on that thing for weeks before you released it in November.
Right.
One of my questions to you is, can you kind of talk about the process of how you even consider building something like that to release to the public? I mean, how did you even kick that off?
Oh, man. Well, the X15, you start with what nose cone you have available.
Okay. That makes sense.
Say, what scale, I got this BT80 nose cone, 3-to-1 ogive. What kind of rockets, what could I do with it? And, on the short list was an X15. And so then it's a process of tracking down the scale data. And this one was a hard one. There is some data out there, but the X15 has this unique shape, and I didn't realize how unique it really was until we started getting into it. It's those side fairings, because they're not just simple wedges on the side of a rocket. And that's what I thought they were when we first started, because I've been familiar with the Schrocket's X15.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And but then I didn't want to copy that. So I purposely didn't look at that when I was designing it. I said, I'm going to make this as scale as possible. So, but when I saw those fairings on the side, man, oh man, those things are really complex, because they start out rounded in the front, and then they turn into a wedge right at the fins,
right,
or the wings in the middle, and then at the rear, they're this odd shape that they're angled downwards, so they're kind of asymmetrical on the rear end. And I said, oh man, the only way I'm going to be able to make these is to vacuum form them. So then it was creating, so now everything that we do is done in CAD. And so I had to create a CAD model of it. And at first I started trying to do it myself. And those fairings are just so complex that I decided to shop it out. So then I went to an outside designer, and I gave him all of my data. And I said, make it look like this. And then, it came back. And they're so god-awful fast compared to me. Yeah. Like 3 days later, I had it. I said, oh, man, this is perfect.
That's cool.
So then it was printing. From that, I printed some patterns. I have a 3D printer, an SLA printer, but I can only do pieces that are 5 inches long. So those fairings they're close to 20 inches long.
Yeah.
So I had to do them in four pieces. I had to glue them together. And then from that, I did a test vacuum form to see if I could actually pull them. And they're not a deep draw, so they're pretty easy to vacuum form. The hard part is that the rear end, where it has a nice sharp edge on it.
Right.
Plastic doesn't like to go around those things, but I've been doing vacuum forming long enough that I know a few tricks on how to make it work. So then with the fairing, and then the cockpit was another special piece. But once I had those, 3 parts, the rest of the rocket was pretty simple. It's just, balsa wood fins. Although at first I started to try to make it, perfectly 100% scale.
Right.
And I did that, and I built the model, and I flew it down at our launch site in Pueblo,
Right.
at the SCORE site, and it took off, and it just took off like an airplane, not like a rocket.
Okay, makes sense.
So, no, that was the second version. The first version went unstable.
Okay.
Understandable.
The first one went unstable, and then smacked into a million pieces. And I said, well, this is not working. I got to make it longer, and I need more nose weight into it.
Mm-hmm.
So then the second one, I also decided to on that second prototype. It didn't end up this way, but I decided to try basswood instead of balsa wood because basswood finishes nicer, but the problem is it's heavier.
Right.
And so the second one was the one that started gliding like an airplane. I said, no, that's no good either. I gotta. It looks really great when they take off, but they don't go straight. And I think I had to walk. This is the one. I don't know if you were down there. That was like around
I think I saw the
Labor
third
Day
iteration
of last year. That was down in at the San Luis Valley Club down by the Great Sand Dunes.
Right. Okay.
That thing took off, and it went probably at least a quarter mile, maybe a half a mile away. I said, no, I can't do that. So then the final one, I went back to balsa wood. And I extended it a little bit further, and then put a little bit more nose weight in it, and then that one worked fine. Now the fairings on the side, here's something that you don't know. Those are actually scale, 100% scale. So if you really wanted to make a scale rocket, you would just shorten the front end by cutting the tube off, and I'm not sure the exact length, but if you could figure it out. So you shorten it up. Now the fairing is going to hang over a little bit onto the nose cone.
Right.
And so then what you have to do is you have to cut it a little bit on the nose cone so it conforms to the nose cone. And it will conform because it's flexible enough to conform. And then at that point, now you got 100% scale, but you have to put a lot more nose weight into it.
Right.
Okay. I think that's the one that you had showed me. You showed me the iteration where you had it on the body tube. The fairing was on the body tube. And then you showed me the one previous where it was on the nose cone. So I do remember seeing that. But no, it makes sense. And so what I wanted the listeners to kind of understand is the process of you creating something like this. Because designing kits obviously isn't easy. It sounds like you put in a lot of time to it. There's a lot of trial and error. And your instructions, I went through the instructions pretty heavily. I haven't bought the kit yet, and I apologize for that. I'll get one soon. But I went through the instructions pretty heavily, and I can tell where the experience talks from you actually going out and flying it. So, kudos on that, because that's something I don't think a lot of folks do when they design kits. They do it in RockSim or Open Rocket, and then they, create a prototype. They fly the prototype. All of a sudden, bam, it's out for sale. And I mean, just the fact that you're out there testing every other weekend to, make sure that all your stuff is working. I got to ask, how long do you think it was in pre-production before you were able to release it in November?
I think I started it probably around April. Right when COVID was starting to kick off.
Wow. Okay.
And then I think the first flight was early August. First prototype, and then it was, from
even
there,
more impressive. So a lot of work goes into that.
Fast.
So, it is. It is really, and for that complex of a model too, because I've seen a lot of people build that, and if you go on the Facebook groups and even on the Rocketry forum, you'll see a lot of folks who have built it already, and those who have love it. And I've seen a few people that have added retention to the back and then tried to adjust the front weight to make it work so that they can have a different type of retainer on there, even though it does say in the instructions not to include that. But I understand why they'd want it to kind of look, better with a retainer. But at the same point, I understand why you did that, and it's good stuff. And that's when you can tell the modelers who have the ability to go and you make adjustments that way. So hats off to you, man. That's a great looking kit.
And just one quick question on the X15. Is it you don't see a lot of larger X15s. I mean, I have an old one, a 5.5-inch diameter one that I've yet to build. I got from an old Rocketeer. But you don't see a lot of X15 kits. Now, is that from the manufacturing standpoint of getting all those pieces together? Part of that, why somebody would say, no, we're not going to do that because there's too many things involved with it?
I think it's those fairings on the side.
Okay. No.
Okay.
Okay.
Nice.
So, it's like, how are you going to build those? It's, you have to build them up out of balsa wood, planking or something.
Right.
So just having the patterns to build those, or else you just have to, kind of fudge it.
Okay. But you were going for something a little bit better than that.
Right. And this is as big as I can make because this, it maxes out my vacuum former.
Wow.
So I can't make it the fairings any longer.
Well, it's really cool though because the videos are great. The build videos for that, I wait for my newsletter to come in my email, and I'm like, this is cool. Another Tim's doing another video on the X15. So it's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
So
thank you.
Yep, good job on that too. We get good feedback, when I talk to people about your videos, and we're talking about the entire array of videos, though, that Apogee does, and the learning that you've done. I mean, I learned how to level 1 watching your videos. So did a lot of people in our club, and, the first day I went and did my H73 reload, I went up to you and I was like, hey, this doesn't seem right. And you looked at it for me, you're like, oh, you should be okay. And then I went and I flew and I certified. So the little rubber stamps that you do, for everybody, Tim, and then, that Apogee does, for relation in the videos and stuff like that, thanks a lot. We really appreciate it. Seriously. All right. So I'll change topics here. Thank you for the information on the X15. That's fantastic stuff.
It's great getting some insight into, the development process.
For real.
Yeah. On something like that.
Yeah.
So one more development thing, and you did mention this in Narcon on the, on the manufacturer's forum.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has kind of asked me, hey, can you talk to Tim about when they're going to release the parachute?
The Rogalo wing.
GPS parachute. And I think you guys talked about that at the Narcon 2 years ago. And,
Right.
you and Brian were interviewed with GM and CG there. So any news going on the steerable chute?
It's... We finalized the design. The thing that took the longest was getting the parachute developed because it's a glider, and if it doesn't glide, it's never going to work because if you want it to come to the left and it goes right, no amount of pulling on it's going to make it come back to the launch pad.
Okay.
So we had to get the parachute right, and the company that's making the parachutes for us, it took them a long time, probably. Oh man, I think maybe like 15 different prototypes back and forth.
Wow.
And we're doing 3 different size chute canopies, for small, even the small canopy is going to be probably maybe like a 3-inch diameter rocket. So
okay.
So the canopy looks small compared to a normal canopy, but because it's a gliding canopy, it's like 3 times more efficient. So it can lift 3 times, or it can bring down 3 times as much weight. So that was the long thing, is getting the parachutes finalized. Right now, we're at the point where we can start ordering parts in, but
Nice.
now all the parachutes have to be sewed, so it's still a long process.
And
Gotcha.
And then we have to order the PC boards for the controller. There's batteries, special servos, and then the eBay inside. We're going with a fiberglass sled. And the thing that's special about this fiberglass sled is it's going to be water jet cut so that it fits inside the rocket properly. Because all the load of the entire rocket is going to be pulling on both ends of that sled.
Oh.
So it's the sled has to be able, it has to be able to handle a heavy rocket. So, it's going to be, I think it's 1/8 inch fiberglass.
It should do it.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about like just from a technical standpoint, that you've got to get the torque on the servos. They have to be fast, but they also have to have a little bit of pull to them so that they're going to actually move the wing. So I mean,
Right.
there's a lot of testing that has to go into something like that, and I can't even imagine the software code for that.
What still concerns me is that even doing the best efforts that we can do, there's still going to be some testing that the user is going to have to do to trim it properly. Right. It's like buying a glider kit. I can give you all the parts to build it, but when you put it together, you gotta fly it and trim it. And it might take 3 or 4 flights to get it trimmed. Ideally, the best way to trim them is dropping them from a drone, but most people don't have drones, so
right,
sure.
Or
so you have to go fly it.
Yep, they're gonna have to keep flying. So I just got to brag a little bit here because I get to see Tim and his team kind of test these out. I've seen this several times, and what's really cool about watching these when they test them is everybody stops what they're doing, and they look skywards.
Absolutely,
you don't even have to call heads up because everybody's already looking. So it's really, really cool. It's going to be fabulous, man. I mean, I'm excited for you guys. So kudos again.
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, 3 words.
That
take
same
my
development
money.
team, right? So that same development team, Tim, I'm sorry. If you listen to the Rocketry Show, you hear me always brag and talk about the the Apogee Simple GPS Tracker. I love that thing. It's nearly spot on. Walks right up to the rocket, and I know that you're technically not supposed to do this, and I say this a lot, and I've had conversations with my L3CC and everything. I have put this on my electronics-based sled, and there's no actual protruding antenna, so there's not really anything that gets in the way of the RF signal or anything, and it's still super accurate. I mean, you got a great product there. Is there any other news behind the GPS tracker that you wanted to mention?
No, we haven't changed it since it came out. It's just been, doing pretty good.
So it works. It works, guys. Right. So I mean, it's definitely worth its weight in gold for sure. But kudos on that one too, Tim.
It ain't broke. ...
For sure.
We're going to take this moment here to take a quick break on the Rocketry Show. We're going to come back with Tim Van Milligan from Apogee Components, and we'll be right back right after this on the Rocketry Show at TheRocketryShow.com.
Going up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, liftoff. From Little Beth Media, a new podcast on model rocketry, with build techniques, model rocket history, interviews with industry insiders, stuff for beginners and longtime model rocketeers, everything from low to mid-power. The Model Rocket Show, with me, the Rocket Noob, at TheRocketryShow.com or anywhere you download podcasts.
It's time for Serious Rocketry. Serious Rocketry, since 1998, providing the Rocketeer with great kits, motors, supplies, and more. They have lots of products in their ever-growing web store with fast shipping, wide selection, and courteous service. You can also check out the amazing and popular Serious Rocketry kits that harken back to the days of fun-to-build detailed kits that are more than just 3 fins and a nose cone. Gene, what did you find?
Oh, always hard looking at the site. I find everything I want, and that's usually a lot. However, you guys know me, and listeners probably know that I kind of like my strakes a little bit on my rockets. That's kind of a thing for me. And as I'm going through, there's one that I have. I realize it's like, I haven't even talked about this one yet, but it's in my fleet, and it flies great, and I love it. It's the Aerotech Strong Arm. And it is a 2.6-inch kit. It's about 44 inches. It's got 4 fins and strakes. It's got details in the decals. It's kind of like a scale-like kit. It's got some really nice decals. It flies on a wide variety of motors, everything from an E up to a G and beyond. It features molded plastic fins with those strakes that I like, a huge self-adhesive decal sheet, and the styling of a Navy standard arm missile. The strong arm is beautiful to look at, and it always is a range pleaser and a great flyer. So it comes in at about 18 ounces. Goes, like I said, the recommended motors go from an E18 all the way up to a G76, which doesn't mean that you couldn't go up to a G80 or H possibly if you strengthen it up a little bit. But it's a great kit, fun to fly, and just an all-around awesome sports kit. I highly recommend the Aerotech Strong Arm for people that like the military scale kits. It's on sale for $84.99.
Ooh.
Good price, right?
Yeah, it's a great price. And when you're ready to order things, guess what? You know immediately what the status is because Sirius Rocketry's website features real-time stock tracking, and that lets you order with confidence from their online store. No having to call or write to see if something is really in stock. When you're ready to fly, Sirius Rocketry has motors and hardware in stock from Estes through Aerotech High Power, as well as popular electronics from Jolly Logic and more. Be sure to ask them about their club's specials. Visit their websites today at siriusrocketry.biz and .com. Sirius Rocketry for the serious Rocketeer. North Coast Rocketry, one of the first high-power rocketry kit companies ever, takes advantage of over 30 years of high-power experience by a world-class Rocketeer. You can look to North Coast Rocketry to expand your high-power rocket fleet. In addition to great kits, North Coast Rocketry also stocks lots of must-have items and accessories for every Rocketeer's workshop. Find out more about these kits and other great products today. Go to northcoastrocketry.com. And while you're there, don't forget to get their latest catalog, northcoastrocketry.com. Advanced rockets that are easy to build, fun to fly, and look great on display. The Rocketry Show would like to thank the following patrons for their support: Todd West, Matt Tudor, Les Rayburn, Steven Spencer, Bill Cook, Jason Cook, Gary Rosenfield, Greg Ziegler, Toby Vanderbeek, Ken Blade, Eric Hamilton, John Beans, Scott Holla, Guy Wadsworth, Phil P., Tom Brum, Michael Moore, Stephen Ray, Amanda Ho, Steve Sainer, Mark, RailButtons.com, and Todd West. If you wish to show your support and become a patron of The Rocketry Show, just visit us at support.TheRocketryShow.com. Welcome back to The Rocketry Show at TheRocketryShow.com. CG, Jeem, Jesse, and Tim Van Milligan from Apogee Components. And we're having fun talking about what's going on with Apogee these days. And so we'll toss it back. I think, Jesse, you've got another question here or another line of questions to go.
Yeah, I got a few more things that I'd like to pick your brain about, Tim. Let me start off with this one here. So Apogee Components sells different manufactured kits from all different types of manufacturers across the globe. And I was kind of wondering, what goes through your head when you're picking out which rockets you want to sell at Apogee? Because you guys have a lot. I mean, you like over like 100 and some odd rocket kits, right?
Right. Yeah, probably closer to 200 some.
Cool.
So what goes through my mind? Well, when I first look at a kit or from a manufacturer, I look, does it fill a hole in the market?
Okay.
So like today, I was looking at some kits from Klima in Germany, and they want me to sell their ME-163 Comet. It's a glider rocket. And so, yeah, it kind of fits a hole in the market. The hole being, people like scale models, and it's also a glider model, kind of like in the vein of the X-15, which we were talking about. The difficulty on that product, though, is it requires a special motor. In Germany, they have them, but in the United States, we don't. They have a D3, 18 millimeter D3. And I was looking today, Aerotech has an 18 millimeter D2.3. So it's a lower thrust motor. So I have to decide, can this rocket motor lift this particular rocket? And then the other thing about that particular rocket is they launch it at probably like a 15 degrees from horizontal.
Oh,
So it
Wow.
takes off like an
Okay.
airplane. So I'm not too keen about launching horizontal.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's
the National
such a-
Association of Rocketry. I
right.
have some things to say about it.
Just a few
Right.
things.
So that's kind of what goes through my mind. First thing is, does it fill a niche? And then I don't want to have duplicate products. Like we carry the Mad Cow 4-inch diameter Patriot, and then Locks
Right.
has a 4-inch
Mhm.
diameter Patriot. Now, they're both great kits, but 2 4-inch diameter Patriots, it's just gonna cause confusion with customers. They're gonna say, which one's better?
Right.
And that's
Right.
that's the question I hate answering, because I wouldn't carry if it wasn't good enough.
Mhm.
Right.
So it's kind of like altimeters. Everybody's always asking me which altimeter is better. I said, well, we carry the one from South Africa, and then we carry
Right.
the one from Altus Metrum, and they're pretty much have similar features. So I just tell people, and it's the truth. We carry so many different brands because we sell items so fast we can't keep them in stock. So I have to have something. So when I sell out of one, I got a backup.
That makes sense.
But for rocket kits themselves, that's I don't. It's a little tougher on that. So that's the kind of thing I'm looking at. I'm always looking for new items. And then the other thing is, there's only so many items that I can afford to carry at any given time. Because when we have such a big inventory, that all my money's tied up in inventory, that I can't go out and buy more rockets, even though I wish I could. So that's the other limiting factor. Once you establish a relationship with manufacturers, then you can start doing some deals back and forth to be able to carry
Right.
additional products. So that's kind of the kind of stuff I'm looking for.
So, a well-known rocketeer here in the Colorado area, Mr. Conway Stevens. You may know him, from some of the local clubs that we fly with, right? So, if you guys know who Conway is, he's I'm going to call him an old schooler. So, he's always built, really big rockets, and I was going to ask you, and I think you and I have talked about that. I think you and I have talked about this personally before. Rocketeers who have the need for super big rockets, can you kind of elaborate on why, sometimes you don't carry like anything over mini mag type size rocket, which is 5.5-inch diameter?
It's the shipping.
Yeah. So
it's the shipping. I mean, because
yep.
the post office last year, they went to what they call dimensional rates. And so even though a tube weighs nothing, it's just a cardboard tube, no matter how big it is, it's still pretty lightweight. But they started charging by the cubic inch. And that
makes a lot of sense now.
Made the cost of shipping so high. The issue is, if we produce it in-house, we probably could get it shipped to us at a reasonable expense. But if we have to buy it from an outside vendor, bring it in, and then ship it out again, that's where, the margins just wouldn't be there to make it cost effective.
See, and I think a lot of folks don't understand, when you pay for a rocket that, gets manufactured, it still has to ship to you, and you incur that as a part of the cost.
Right.
So, I mean, I kind of wanted, to ask you that question so that, listeners understand that it's not just as simple as grabbing all this stuff and carrying it. I mean, there's a lot of people that specialize in bigger products like that. And, for all intents and purposes, you guys do sell 5.5-inch, 7.6-inch tubing, from Lock and, a few other bigger things from other manufacturers. And you still carry some pretty big fiberglass nose cones and stuff too, as well, if I remember correctly. So, yeah, I mean, I just wanted to kind of touch base on that. And that kind of keeps you, anywhere from like a 4-inch rocket on down. And you guys carry a ton of them. So,
Yeah.
So getting back to, larger rockets and stuff. One question that I wanted to talk to you about, and I've never asked you about this personally, but what influenced you to start carrying the Zephyr, which seems to be a huge level 1 certification rocket? Just this last year alone, in 2020, I probably saw at least 9 different L1 certifications on a Zephyr myself. So that's fantastic. Then you have the Peregrine, which is a 38 millimeter motor mount tube, and then it has an electronics bay. And then you go all the way up to the larger Katana, which is a 54 millimeter motor mount and electronics bay. You found a niche for that, and you decided to build your own kits instead of getting some brought in. Was that just because you had an inspiration, or can you kind of talk about that a little bit?
Well, a couple of years ago, there was kind of a lull in manufacturing from outside suppliers. We were growing at a pretty fast rate, and our suppliers just couldn't keep up with the demand. And people wanted a 4-inch kit, and we would be out for months at a time. So then it finally came to a head, and I say, "Hey, I got to help out my customers. They want these things, so let's bite the bullet." And it all starts with the nose cone. Let's
right. And you have an
produce our own
exclusive particular nose cone, right? That's a 5-in-1 O-Gave, right?
Right. So we purchased the mold and had it blow molded and brought in. And, once you have the nose cone, then you have to start making rockets around it. So that's, it's not just one rocket, it's 3 rockets.
Yep.
So we try to amortize it in 3 rockets so that we can get the cost of that tooling back as quickly as possible. So that started the Zephyr, and then the Peregrine, and then the Katana. The Zephyr, when I first designed it, it was supposed to be 9 inches shorter. But when I built it, I said, man, I think I built it by mistake using the wrong tube. It was 9 inches too long. So no, I like it this way. So I kept it that way. So that was cool. I think the unique thing about it, I think the people like it is because it's got that slot in the fins, which is kind of, you don't see that too often. And that was just kind of a decorative feature that we added. I said, hey, I got this laser cutter. Let's, we can cut any shape we want. Let's make let's make it interesting. So.
And then the split fin design on the Katana kind of incorporates the same, you wanted to do a split fin at first, but then decided to just kind of keep it as one piece because it just was easier for manufacturing, right? I mean,
right, and it's stronger too. The thing I have a problem with split fins is that you have to line them up so that they're perfectly in line, and it's you can get them, you can get the root edge lined up, but then the tips are make this V shape, looking from the rear. Mm-hmm. And so I didn't want to do that to people. So I said, let's connect the tips a little bit, make it hard to see, but kind of a split fin shape. So coming up with fin shapes is a challenge
it's fun.
Sometimes.
And it's fun, but it's a challenge for sure. So once again, kudos on that, Tim. I mean, people love the 4-inch designs that you guys have, and they look good in your showroom. So, whoever worked on those did a really good job.
Well, I did the design, but then I turned it over to the graphics guys to create the decals for me.
Yeah, it looks good, man. So good job on that. 2 more things I want to ask about, and then I'm going to turn it over to Jim for a couple of questions if we have some time. So one more thing is Peak of Flight newsletter. You guys are putting out a ton of free plans. How are you guys getting those? Are those items that you just didn't want to release as kits? So you're like, oh, I'm going to give it to the public and let them see if they can get the parts for me to build it. I mean, how do you get those? Are they being submitted to you? Or
when we first started, I wanted people to submit because I wanted to make the newsletter more interactive. Kind of getting outside submissions, and so the first few of them came from outside. And we still accept submissions, and we actually pay people for them. But then
you all heard that, right?
Yeah, we do pay for
that, right? Okay.
Yeah. We're still looking.
Okay.
And then after a few issues, the submissions dried up. So then it was like, I got to keep doing these. So then I start coming up with my own designs. The last two of them were done by my graphics guy, Matthew Martinez, and he did. What's the name of that one? The last two. There's the ring fin one, and then there was the one with the fins that are really delicate. I have to go on my website because we have so many. I always forget the names of everything.
I saw that you had the 25 plan. Oh, right. Okay. And then for your subscribers, you also offer the 25 plan rocket book. That's got a ton of different designs in there.
Right. All those, I'll tell you a little secret about those. Those all came from Schrock's.
All right. So yeah.
So a long time ago, Doug used to work for me, and he created those plans for the newsletter. But they just stayed in the newsletter. So what we did was I wanted to have an incentive for people to subscribe to the newsletter. So I said, I'll just take all those plans and put them in a book, update them, create new blueprint drawings for them, and have all the templates all in one spot. So that's our free gift when people subscribe. But now, what we're working on is the next booklet of 25 plans. But I think we're
all right.
4, 9, 10, 11, 12. We're like about 13. So we got about another 12
counting.
more to go. Yeah.
Okay. Submit your plans to Apogee, guys. Let Tim look at them. So then write him some
I'm
articles.
not too picky on them either. So as long as you build them and fly them, I'm not going to accept something that if you don't want to build it and fly it yourself, nobody else is going to want it either. So
good point.
That's the only caveat.
One more thing I want to comment on, Tim, and then I'll turn this over to Jim. So you said on your NarCon presentation that you have job openings at Apogee. You want to talk about those a little bit?
Right. So the big one is R&D, rocket designer.
Nice.
It also calls research and development. So this is replacing myself. As the company keeps getting bigger and bigger, it's harder and harder to do all the work yourself. And I kind of liken this to what Vern Estes had to go through when he was doing Estes. When he first started, he could do everything, but then eventually he said, I got to turn over the R&D to somebody else, even though that's the fun part. Just running the company is challenging enough. So that job is open. We also have our marketing job open. I'm looking for somebody that has experience doing direct mail. That's kind of the direction I want to go.
Got it.
But we also, that's also producing our newsletter and basically scheduling me. Like my current marketing person, who is Bobby Potter, he scheduled this interview. That's kind of marketing. So that's kind of other things that you would do as a marketing person. We also have production in the back, kind of more of a manufacturing position. And then we also have our front office, kind of receptionist customer service position. And that's the one that's actually the hardest to fill because, like you said, Jesse, we're looking for really qualified people that not only have customer service experience, but also have data entry experience and have this servant-like attitude, really wanting to help customers out.
Right. Yeah, it's a jack of all trades position for sure.
Right.
But listeners, if you're interested in finding out what Tim has to offer, obviously go to ApogeeRockets.com and take a look. He's got that listed all up on there. But yeah, Tim, from my side, thank you very much, man. I mean, I'm glad to know you. I'm glad to work with you, and glad to fly with you. So, the next thing I'm sure everyone wants to hear is about some of the stuff you announced at NARCon about RockSim.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
Jim,
Well,
you're our native RockSim person. So,
what we're going to do there is, before we go into that, this is a perfect time to take another break here on the Rocketry Show and get some things out of the way. And we're going to come back and we're going to talk about the big thing, RoxIm here, as we talk to Tim Van Milligan from Apogee Components right here on the Rocketry Show, TheRocketryShow.com. We'll be right back. Stay close.
Hey, all you rocket geeks out there. Do you like doing in-flight videos of your flights? And do you ever use those keychain cams and unfortunately sometimes only get videos of your thumb? Hey, this is Gene from The Rocketry Show, and that used to happen to me. I used to use those old keychain cams only to get nothing very good quality. But I found a solution to that, and it's Insane Rockets. It's an app that's available on the Google Play Store for Nexus 5X and higher. Now get this, it does 4K video. But not only that, it'll upload it automatically to the cloud and provide you real-time telemetry while tracking your rocket through Google Earth. It is amazing. Available on the Google Play Store, Insane Rockets app. It's crazy. No, wait. It's insane.
It's time for eRockets.biz. eRockets is your home for unique model rocket kits as well as the world's largest selection of rocket parts from Semrock. They've been in business since 2009, and eRockets.biz has a wide selection of your favorite kits as well as their own versions of popular out-of-production models many of you have come to enjoy over the years. And Jesse's been kind of flipping through the website there on their virtually magazine, or like a virtual magazine, I guess I'm trying to say. So what did you find in that virtual magazine? Digital
it
one.
is totally a virtual magazine. It's the one that you definitely want to surf while you're, taking care of some business. But, one of the rockets that some of my club members have that seems to be pretty popular is the AGM-33 Pike.
Oh, yeah.
And you guys have seen a ton of those, right?
Mm-hmm.
eRockets has one from Mad Cow. Looks like this one's a 4-inch diameter kit. This one here is about 5.5 feet tall.
Nice.
So, it's a pretty big size rocket. It'll, turn some heads. 38 millimeter motor mount. So that, you can put a, plethora of motors in that, at least be able to see it. Of course, plywood fins, plastic nose cone, 9/16, the tubular harness that they provide, center rings, and this comes with rail buttons, so you don't have to add that.
Cool.
You will have to add a retainer. You can also get this does come with a payload tube, so you can get a, dual deployment eBay and another chute and a second harness. The good thing about this, guys, is that this rocket is just over $100 from eRockets.
Nice.
That's a great price for the size of a kit. So, yeah, take a look at that, guys. AGM-33 Pike, 4-inch. And check this out. There's also a 1.6-inch diameter one.
Cute.
And it looks like that's 29 millimeter.
Ooh.
So, get the brother, too.
Nice. If you need parts for your own custom builds, that is no problem at all. eRockets.biz also supplies the Semrock line of airframes, nose cones, centering rings, motor mounts, and so much more. eRockets has more rocket parts available than anyone else on Earth. And there are also plenty of other rocketry items to choose from as well, such as educational kits and supplies, air rockets, water rockets, and so much more. eRockets certainly has enough kits and supplies to keep you busy in your workshop for a long time to come. And if you've ever visited their factory or the warehouse, really, down in Dayton, you will come to understand that, and you will come out with a lighter wallet. So just stay safe and do it online, I guess, for now. Check out eRockets.biz today to learn more. eRockets.biz. If rocketry scares you, buy a train set.
I ain't scared.
Lock Precision Rocketry manufactures a full line of high-quality precision fit components to meet your building, repairing, and customizing needs. Lock Precision believes in making rocket kits as light as possible while maintaining the strength required to fly with commercially available motors. Lock Precision offers a wide range of rocket kits from the 1-inch diameter Lock 1 series to high-power rockets reaching 7.6 inches in diameter. When you visit LockPrecision.com, be sure to check out their performance Series kits featuring such designs as the Black Brand 10, the Caliper ISP, and the 3.1-inch diameter Iris Rocket. All of Lock Precision's performance kits comes with everything you need, including pre-slotted airframes, high-grade precision-cut plywood fins and components, as well as ripstop nylon parachutes, rugged shock cords, polypropylene nose cone, and instructions. The name Lock Precision has been synonymous with mid and high-power rocketry for over 30 years. Check out LockPrecision.com to find out why. LockPrecision.com. Fly higher. Fly Lock. The Rocketry Show would like to thank the following patrons for their support: Timothy Mock, Conway Stevens, Jeff Curtis, Phil Bridges, Scott Masters, Roy Tyson, Rob Hoagie, R. Smith, Gary Dell, Jay Paulman, Don J., G. Schmierden, M. Erisman, Pierre Marlou, Jeff Curtis, Brian Lapato, Philip Calvin, Jay Bryan, Casey Anderson, Terry Dancer, Mark Essenwine, Jim Wilson, Jason O'Scally, and Scott Masters. If you wish to show your support and become a patron of The Rocketry Show, just visit us at support.TheRocketryShow.com. Welcome back to The Rocketry Show at TheRocketryShow.com. We've got Tim Van Milligan with us, CG, Jeem, and Jesse, and we're about to jump into the big thing in the room here, Roxim 10. So, Jeem,
I'm excited.
You've got questions.
We all have questions.
Yes.
The first and foremost is it's great to have that update that dropped a few months back. We've been digging into it a little bit and really enjoying it. And at the Narcon virtual presentation, Tim, you were talking about some of the new features that you want to put out there. And there was one in particular that piqued my interest called Visualizer. And for those that didn't get a chance to see, could you kind of explain what might be coming as far as RockSim goes?
Okay, so we're actually talking about several different products here. There's Roxim, Roxim Pro, and then the Flight Visualizer. Everything started with Roxim. Roxim was our first software. Right. We started it in actually 1997 was version 1. Roxim was the first program that was design and simulation in the same bundle. So you could design your rocket and then simulate it, but just by clicking a button. So then over the years, it has evolved, and now we're on version 10. We released version 10 last April of 2020. And then we did an update in the middle of the year. I'm not sure exactly when that was. And we got an update, hopefully by the time you actually hear this presentation, it should be out, because I'm looking at the final versions right now. So it's another bug fix version, although there's a lot more behind it, more than just bug fixes. We actually had to go back in and rewrite a whole bunch of the code to modernize it.
Yeah. Yep.
Because computers are evolving so fast that some of the newer computers don't play well with RockSim, particularly like on Windows. If you have a 4K monitor, it just kind of smushes everything. So we had to go back and rewrite a ton of the code, and that took last year at least 9 months to do. So we started on that as soon as we released version 10, and we've been working on it, and we're now at the point where to turn it over to customers. And there's also a few new features in there, nothing major. I guess the biggest one would be we fixed the cluster editor, making it easier to put clusters in rockets. And there's a bunch of other little bug fixes here and there. So that's that. And then while that was going on at the same time, I went out and I hired outside programmers to start my next project, which was taking Roxim Pro and taking that mainstream. The difference between Roxim and Roxim Pro is Roxim is 3 degrees of freedom in its simulations. So what that means is the rocket can go in 3 orientations. It can go up and down, which is 1. It can go like left and right, but with the wind. So that's the second one. And it can also pitch with the wind or into the wind. So that's 3 degrees of freedom. So Roxim Pro, we released Roxim Pro. The first version was in 2008, but it actually came from a program called Splash that I bought up right before then. But Splash was available all the way back to 2003. I was looking in my catalogs today to make sure I had those. So it goes way back. So that was the first 6 degree of freedom simulator, and it's now incorporated into and it's always been in Roxim Pro since 2008. But what 6 degrees means is you got those 3 degrees of freedom, but then you also have not only left and right, but you can go forward and backwards, like going crosswind. You can yaw in that direction, and then you can also roll the rocket. So as the rocket's going up, it's rolling, it's spinning on its axis. So that's 6 degrees of freedom. The problem with 6 degrees of freedom is how do you display it? And so what Roxim Pro does is it just spits out a table, kind of like the summary screen on RockSim. And it just spits out all these numbers like yaw rates and roll rates and, angles, elevation angles, azimuth angles. And, what do you do with that? And for that reason, we didn't really push Roxim Pro out to customers because I didn't feel, right, pushing it on the customer saying this is better. And then, how is it better? You get a table. So what I've always wanted to do since it's the very beginning, way back in 2008, was to have a 3-dimensional visualizer, or the flight profile, we call it in RockSim. In Roxim Pro, we're going to call it the flight visualizer. So it's a 3-dimensional universe where the rocket is. So it's kind of like taking Google Earth, which everybody is familiar with, where you can rotate the planet and go anywhere in the world. And we're going to put the rocket in there in 3 dimensions, and then we're going to simulate the flight in that environment. And so like you can take your rocket and now you can put it on your launch pad, on your launch site. And where you launch is important because, you have obstacles around. You're like here, at our launch site, Jesse can tell you, we got these things called the rocket eating canyons. where
we talked
you
about
want to
that
keep
before.
You want to keep your rockets out of those. So now we can visualize where those canyons are because it actually has, high resolution maps embedded into it.
That's cool.
Okay.
Wow.
So,
that's
and
cool.
the maps, we're using Bing Maps. And so all the roads will be on there. You can, so you can find places really easy. And then you'll see the rocket in there. And so it took, we started that project in February of last year. And basically the middle of January of this year to get the flight visualizer working to where I feel it can be released. So in the flight visualizer, you're going to see the rocket on the pad. When the rocket, it's kind of like the 2D flight profile in RockSim, where you'll have a launch button and then a scroll wheel or scroll bar along the bottom where you can just slide it along and you can go any point in the flight. And like in RockSim, you'll see the smoke of the rocket as it takes off. You can see the trajectory because they'll have a trajectory plot. It has a ground track, but it's all in 3D, so you can actually, see the rocket reacting to the wind as it's taking off.
Nice.
And that's the important thing, because it doesn't just go up or go translate with the wind. It actually, as soon as the wind hits it, it starts it spinning.
Cool.
And
For
now
a
you
chart team, that would be
can
awesome.
now you can see it. And then the cool thing about it is, I made sure that it could do my caveat when I did this. I said, I don't want to take anything away that people can do right now in RockSim. So in RockSim, you can stage rockets. And so when it stages the rockets, I want to see those booster stages falling away. I want to know where those are landing too and how they're reacting. What I discovered on booster stages is they tend to have a tendency to glide like an airplane, which is pretty cool. And then the unique thing about RockSim is, I think we started in version 9, is we added pods. So you can think of like a strap-on booster, like, on the space shuttle, you got these boosters on the outside that can fall off during the flight. And that was a challenge to do in this flight visualizer. That took a long time because how many booster pods can you put on a rocket? I'm thinking, I used to work, my first job out of college was working on the Delta II. There's 9 boosters on that thing.
Yeah.
And I haven't simulated 9 yet, but I'm told by the programmers that it shouldn't matter. If you can put them on the side, they'll track them all.
So in other words, if you can figure out how to kerbal your rocket.
So the most complex I've done is 3 stages with 2 pods on each stage and dual deployment on each of those pods.
Wow.
So it's a lot of parts falling down in the visualizer.
Yeah.
And it puts a workload on your computer's processor. So if you have a slow processor, this would be, the time you want to upgrade.
Man,
when I run it, my fan runs on my computer every time.
Oh, wow.
There's a lot of processing going on.
Oh, I can only imagine with keeping track of all those elements in real time, and then going back and forth with all the other components, with the wind and the temperature, humidity, all the data that has to be crunched into the visualizer has got to be immense.
Right, and the beauty is it's not a table anymore. Now the beautiful. It's just seeing
interactive.
Right, it makes 6 Degrees of Freedom accessible to everybody. Because the best tool that you have in your arsenal that everybody has is their brain. And if you can actually see it, you can figure out what's going on.
Yes.
And so now it's just a matter of, are you smart enough to use it?
So essentially, Visualizer is kind of its own little standalone then?
Well, okay. So what we're planning on doing, so the Visualizer, to be able to test it, what we had to do is we had to put it into Roxim Pro because we needed the 6 Degrees of Freedom results. So in Roxim Pro, the next version that comes out will have the Visualizer in it. And we'll start working on that once we get this upgrade to regular RockSim out the door.
Okay.
So with, hopefully by the time this is aired, we'll be working on getting that released. And we're not too far away from that point because all the work in RockSim and Roxim Pro, it's the same code base. And there's just different branches. And we want to kick out a Roxim Pro. We just, it's kind of like turn left. If you want to do RockSim, turn right. And it just spits out the code. So we're not too far away from releasing that. This flight visualizer, it does require a connection to the internet because you have to download the maps real time. So you can run the simulations without being connected to the internet, but to visualize it, you do need to be connected to the internet. So that is Roxim Pro with the flight visualizer. But then the future product is the visualizer as a standalone. And this is what we're going to, because we want to put RockSim into the cloud. One of our biggest challenges that we face every day is just people getting the software installed on their computers. For most people, it's not a problem, but there's a lot of people that are old school and they're not used to modern computers. And the biggest challenge is where are files being stored? And they just can't navigate around in their computers. So and schools, it's the same problem. Is kids they're
It makes a lot of sense.
Right. So we're trying to put it into the cloud so that we can control where all the files are stored. And a lot of people say, I can't run a simulation. And it's not that RockSim is broke. It's just they're doing their setup wrong. And then they get everything, out of place. And then we have to step in and fix it. But if it's all in the cloud, on a server somewhere, we'll run the simulations on the server and just spit back the results to the customer. So the visualizer is the first part. So the whole goal is to get RockSim into the cloud, but we're not going to be able to do it fast because, like I said, there's two parts to RockSim. There's the design part and the simulation part. So the simulation part is the first thing that we'll get into the cloud. So when the visualizer, the flight visualizer is available, and it'll probably be late fall. That's our target date. You'll be able to run simulations, but you won't be able to change the design. So you can open a RockSim design, load an engine, set up all the launch conditions like the angles and the wind, run the simulations, and see the rocket in the visualizer, and you'll get the results back. But if you want to change things like moving a fin or going 3 fins to 4 fins, what you'll have to do is open it up into RoxIm or Roxim Pro, resave it, and then bring it back into the flight visualizer.
And that's part of the intermediate step as you move this process
move
to
get
the
it. Cloud.
Got it.
Right.
Okay,
So,
that clears up a lot because there were some questions after I saw that. I'm like, this is interesting, but how's that going to work? So now it makes perfect sense.
yeah.
Indeed.
And so eventually, when all is said and done, once we get RoxIm in the cloud, we're going to go from Roxim Pro and RoxSim just down to RoxSim. And RoxSim will be just 6 degrees of freedom.
One product for them all.
One product. Yeah. That's the ultimate goal.
Nice.
Very cool. And as you said yourself, and I saw the quick demo on the visualizer, it's just like being at a launch, except you can't smell the smoke and you're not with your friends. I thought that was great.
I remember that forever.
For me personally, I can't even run a 2D flight profile in RoxSim anymore after doing it in the 3D
I bet.
visualizer.
I could tell you were really excited when you were demoing it.
Yeah. It's like I was playing with it today, and it's just like, holy cow. You see so much, and all those little nuances. Says, yeah, that looks real. And you can see it. We've programmed 4 different camera views into the software. So there's the standard camera view basically is just to help people to keep the rocket centered. So as the rocket is moving, the camera just kind of pans along with it and keeps it in view. It's kind of like if you go out to a launch site and somebody's videotaping a rocket launch, the rocket takes off so fast they lose it, almost instantly. And then they have to find it again.
Right.
Well, in this first view, the rocket will always stay in the center of the viewport. And then the second view is a kind of similar view, but this time the camera is fixed in a certain direction. But you can move the camera anywhere you want. So it's better for seeing the entire trajectory all at once. But then because the rocket is also spinning and twisting and turning, down in the bottom right-hand corner, we have what is called the mini viewport. And this is a close-up of just the rocket itself. So you can see the rocket itself and see it spinning and twisting and gyrating. But then at the same time, you can see the trajectory and what the trajectory is doing. And the cool thing is those unstable flights.
So I can imagine. So now
because in RockSim, when you get an unstable flight, the rocket stays on the trajectory, like a nice arc.
Yeah,
but it just
wiggles.
spins on it. Well, it doesn't do that in the 6 degree of freedom visualizer. It actually will start, zigzagging and turning left and right. And particularly if they look best when you put a long burn rocket motor in them, because they do really crazy.
So now this brings up a question for me, because it's something I've always wondered about in the existing 2D simulator in RockSim, and maybe this new view could help explain it. But one of the things I've had trouble trying to wrap my head around is on certain rocket designs, when you do that and you launch them, during the powered portion of the flight, the simulator on the 2D simulator would have the rocket kind of wiggling back and forth,
Right.
Just a little bit before. Then after thrust, it's even. Yeah. So
that's actually what happens when a rocket takes off. As it's coming off the launch rod, it's slow, and that's the slowest point. And when the wind hits it, it really has a big effect on it. And so the rocket starts to arc into the wind, but the fins then start to try to correct it.
Okay.
And it goes backwards, and it'll oscillate a few oscillations. As it starts straightening itself out, and you see that in real launches.
I see something like that with my tube fin rocket.
Right.
And that's as we're getting into with like all this, we're talking a lot about technology and merging and things. I've used RockSim where I've actually exported an MTL file, which is an object file, and then brought that into Kira to make a 3D part. Do you have any more plans for any kind of integration as far as exporting to stuff files that are 3D print ready? We can do it now. It's not difficult to do now, but. Right. Is there a way to do you guys think about simplifying that, or is that more of something that just take your object file and go?
We've had a lot of requests for something like that, but right now it's just priority is getting this visualizer done first.
Right.
This is on the list of things to do. Now I can say, because I learned something new today from my programmer. He says. What the visualizer does is it takes those three-dimensional rockets and it brings them into the visualizer. When they first tried to do this, the outside programmers they are having problems, and the actual problem was within RockSim itself generating those 3D objects. So I know that the 3D objects that it can export will be better in the next version of RockSim. And this should be in RockSim as well as Roxim Pro, because like I said before, they share the same code. So we're going to be testing that just to see, what the how good it actually becomes. The problem with what you're talking about though is you can export out simple shapes in RockSim, like a nose cone or the fins. The problem is the complex items that need to be added to it. Like you need a loop on the nose cone, where RockSim can't generate that three-dimensional loop on the nose cone. So basically it's just, just a cone with a shoulder on it, but you need to do something with that shoulder to attach your parachute. And that we won't have for probably a long time yet. Trying to figure that out.
Okay. Well, it's such a great tool. I've been using it. My TARC team is, that's how we start our designs. I've used it for my own personal projects. And there's so many things that it can do. And I was so excited to see that new splash screen of RockSim 10 come up. And I was like, oh, this is great. So that's very cool. And one thing that I really like is, you've started to do some Facebook Live videos it's 10 o'clock at Mountain Time, which in the East Coast is about noontime on Friday, to have some Facebook Live videos and some other things. Are you going to be doing more videos for training into a series, or how do you envision that as evolving into something?
Well, yeah, that's kind of the goal. My goal this year is we wanted to do more video, and we see this in our marketing is that we get more customers from videos. So we wanted to put more videos out. So then we were thinking, what could we do for videos? So we actually came up with a list of like 4 or 5 different types of videos. So we have the advanced construction video series, which is building rockets. That's your tips and your kind of like the training of rocketry itself, the physical part. Then we added this RockSim training. Like you said, we're doing it live so that people can ask questions. And the other reason we wanted to do this was kind of take some of the workload off of our staff. When they get a question about RockSim,
Sure.
We can say, "Hey, go to the live, and we'll demonstrate it there, so you can actually see it." And then the third type of videos will be our business essential videos, and this is more for me training. I think what Apogee does is unique, and so I wanted to, put that out in the world for other business people that are running businesses. Kind of help them. I did one so far on customer service, and I got another one lined up sometime soon that I want to reshoot. And then we're going to do a series of unboxing videos, and I think we've released 2 of those so far. Yeah. And then the final one will be a behind the scenes at Apogee. Just kind of like what's going on, what am I working on?
Nice.
Just the fun stuff, the interesting day-to-day stuff. We get a lot of questions from customers all the time. And what happens is the person that answers the phone doesn't know the answers, then they come running to me. And, and those conversations should be videotaped because they're really cool sometimes. It's kind of like somebody asked the other day, how do you do motor retention, minimum diameter on a DMS motor?
Okay.
So on a reload, you have the Aero Pack minimum diameter reload retainers, and they screw into the front of the reloads. But the DMS motors don't have that feature. So we were discussing, you probably could use the Cicerone on there if the thread was just right.
That's an interesting question, actually. Now I'm thinking about it.
So we get a lot of cool questions from customers all the time. So like I said, those are the kind of things that I think should be videotaped, and so we can spread them out to the world.
What I like best about what you guys are doing at Apogee is, like, ever since I became a born again rocket guy, probably about almost 8 years ago now, the information that you have on that website is phenomenal. That was my go-to source for learning. Okay, dual deploy. What's that? What's this? How do I do this? How do I do that? And the website was like basically my main go-to for that. And it's cool to see you branching out into other things for that. But that's part of what I think is one of the reasons for your success is you have that information. Because anybody could sell a kit and throw it out there, but to give that information out there and to provide all of that brain power that you guys do, it's from a business standpoint, it's like, wow, I'm keep going back to these guys, because they have what I need and including information, which
right. What's nice is even when you're shopping, you kind of go, I wonder, wait, is this the right part? And you just scroll down a page a little bit, and there's all the breadcrumbs.
Yeah, the cross references are great. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you a little secret about the information is we're about as lazy as anybody. And we get tired of answering the same questions over and over again.
Sure.
So we put out the information. In fact, tonight, somebody asked me, hey, I want to make my own rocket motors. What are the rules and regulations that I need to worry about? So instead of just typing out all the things this guy's going to know, I can just go to the specific page on our website. In this case, it was ApogeeRockets.com/legal. And if you go to that page, it has all the regulations, the NFPA 1127 codes and all that stuff, all listed there, and links to everything so that they can find them. And then, in 30 seconds, I could answer that email instead of taking, 5 minutes to answer that email. So we do it, part of the reason we do it is to help ourselves out too.
No, hey, that's cool. Because many times I've gone to the site for references, and it's cool to see the videos and getting the newsletter and all the little tidbits, and it's a part of my born again, like, right. I guess my mythos.
I'll tell you where we get our inspiration is our customers. When they have questions, we want to write them down so that someday in the future somebody's going to ask the same question. So if you have your questions, keep asking them.
My favorite
we'll
part.
answer.
There you go. The very important Rocketeer CDs that you that like years ago that were coming out. I love those. I still have them all.
It's like,
so,
I'm a VIR. I was very excited.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
We're
fantastic.
Yeah. So now for the next question here, we've been talking a lot about Apogee, and it's been fun and everything, but we also like to talk, shop talk here. And so for our shop talk with you, Tim, tell us what do you have going on in your workshop? What's a big project you're working on?
Okay. So a lot of people know that I've been doing competition rockets for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And a long time ago, I was on the U.S. international team. But in order to free up spots for everybody else, I've gotten out of the competition, but I support my daughters who do it. And so we're getting ready for a trip to the World Space Modeling Championships. It was supposed to be last year, but because of COVID, they moved it to this summer.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in Romania. And my daughters are both flying S6, which is the A engine streamer duration. And so I've been building ultralight carbon fiber tubes for them. They actually will build the tubes themselves, but I have to do all the prototyping and work out all the processes so that when they actually go to build them themselves, it goes a lot easier. And of all the rockets I've ever built in my life, these are by far the hardest I've ever built.
I bet.
Because
too cool.
Think of something the size of an Estes Big Bertha, just the tube and the nose cone. Just the tube and the nose cone. I can get it right now about 3.5 grams.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And
the
the surface finish on these things is, my goal is like a mirror finish. And I'm like 95% of the way there. The hard part is this is made in a mold, a 2-piece mold, where it's kind of I don't know how to describe a mold. So it's 2 cavities, and they got flat edges on it, and you bring them together so it's hollow on the inside. So what you do is you open it up, and then you lay in your epoxy and your carbon fiber inside of there. Then you bring them together. And then because the surface on the inside is mirror finished, the outside surface of the rocket is also a mirror finish. The exception is the seam where the 2 parts come together.
Right.
This is the part that I'm still working on, trying to figure out how to make those seams nice. Because what you end up with is what's called flashing, where the epoxy oozes out, and so you got this lip, and then you gotta sand it off.
Mm-hmm.
But they're so thin. They're thinner than a piece of paper.
Wow.
So trying to sand them, and they're hollow, and they're kind of squishy because they're so thin. But I've been really impressed. I've had to develop this. This process it's been part chemistry and part process, and it took both items. Normally, for me, building a rocket, it's all process, because you just start with a paper tube, and then it's the process of putting the finish on it. Well, this has taken a lot of trying different materials, different epoxies, different mold releases, different additives, different types of, carbon fiber. It's just been, I feel like Thomas Edison trying to invent the light bulb by checking all 10,000 filament types.
Nice.
It's my biggest discovery, or my biggest contribution that I've learned, is to keep a logbook of everything that I've tried, so I can go back to it and say, "Oh, I've tried that before. That didn't work."
Yes.
And since I've started using a logbook, the progress has accelerated exponentially.
Mhm.
Because as I'm getting older, my memory's getting shorter, and I keep repeating the same mistakes over and over again. So just by writing them down and not having to repeat them has been a big time saver. But these are just, I just think they're just gorgeous rockets when they come out, and I'm like 95% of the way there. I got one in the mold right now, and I can't wait to look at it tomorrow morning when it's cured.
Any possibilities of bringing it to market?
Oh man! Well,
I know.
Each tube takes approximately 3 hours of work.
Wow.
So
wow.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's a lot involved in that.
Yeah.
And then the nose cone is a separate thing too. So that's about the same amount of time. It's just there's just less carbon fiber in it.
Very cool.
It wouldn't be a competition if everyone could do it easily.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Very cool.
That's up on my plate. And we still don't know if we're actually going. It's if they might postpone it again. But
Right.
this has been the first one that I made was in November of 2019. So it's been over a year and a few months that I've been working on these things. Like I said, I'm probably about 95% of the way there. So
A lot of work.
So if you want to do competition with me, so eventually I got to train people how to do this, because I hope it's all this process.
Yeah,
that
you
I've
want it to carry
discovered
on too.
To carry on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking I'll do maybe a video series on how to do it, but I don't know if I'll release it through Apogee. I was thinking maybe I'd do it like one of those courses, where you have to pay to take the course or something.
Mhm.
But I can only imagine like 2 people in the entire world would watch it.
Well, it'll be two people really dedicated to carrying on the
Right.
tradition, which they should.
Yeah, it could apply to other rockets too. There's a lot of things that I learned. It's just the proper mold releases, and how to put the bladder inside and how to get it out afterwards. That would apply to high power rockets just as much as low power stuff.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
You guys continuously blow my mind. Talk about advanced. Geez.
Yes. Advanced competition rocketry.
Right.
It's been fun having you spend time with us here on the Rocketry Show, and looking forward to the next time. So you're always welcome to be on the show whenever you've got anything new, Tim.
Okay. Well, thank you. It's been a great honor and a privilege to be here. And you guys asked really good questions. So I enjoyed this just as much as you did.
Right on.
Best of luck to you. Hopefully things will calm down enough to where you get to go to that competition, and hopefully things will continue to grow with Apogee. And I can't wait to see that visualizer.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Have a great one, Tim.
You too.
All righty. That was a very, very cool interview. It was great to have Tim Van Milligan back on the show, but in a more controlled situation than we had him last time, in that during NarCon 2018?
2018. Yep.
Was it?
Yeah, sure
Or
was.
2019? 2018, yeah. Man, the pandemic really put a wedge in my mental
I don't even know
calendar.
what day it is right now. I mean, it's like they're all kind of blend into the same thing. The Zoom meeting after whatever we're doing now. Put a mask on, and then what day is it?
Right.
Same as it was yesterday.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But we're getting through
Exactly.
it. We're getting through
Same as it ever was. Yeah.
it. Yeah, I'll get out the big suit with the shine.
Yeah. So anyway, since we recorded the interview with Tim, the RockSim 10.1 has been released.
Mhm.
I have not tried it on any of my Windows machines yet.
I have on 3 Macs and my Surface, my Windows 10 Surface.
Sweet.
All the updates. What I did find interesting was there was an option to upgrade that you could do just the incremental files or the entire thing. And for me, the incremental ones didn't work on any of my machines, but and I'm like, well, that doesn't work. I'm going to try the whole thing. And I did that, and I did that option, and it's running beautifully on 3 Macs and the Surface. So far, so good on everything. I have it open right now, actually, on my my studio computer because I happen to have it on there too.
The way I went about doing it is I downloaded the trial version and then just activated it with my key on my MacBook. And so, yeah, it came to life, and it ran fine. The only bug I ran into was just when you're on the building the rocket and you have the wireframe view below. If you switch it to 3D view, I find that you can't really zoom in. But it's they did a lot of work on this, so I'm not criticizing it at all. I mean, I understand from a coding point of view, just how tricky that is to kind of tiptoe around.
Oh yeah.
The existing code base to try to add new features, especially the kind of features they're doing. It's kind of hard to not knock over a glass here or there. So
yeah, good point.
But
yeah, it's interesting that you brought up that bug because I haven't seen anything, but I never use the 3D view for any of my designs. I stick to 2D because I guess I'm I'm a graph paper kind of guy, I guess.
Yeah.
So I like that 2D look.
Yeah.
So I don't do things in 3D, so I haven't tried that, but I'm trying it right now, and I don't see any option to enlarge that. And I'm trying shortcuts, the plus sign, minus sign.
Yeah, you have to open up the camera view, and in the camera view, you've got controls to twirl the rocket around, spin it, and all that.
Yeah, I saw that.
That's where you normally zoom in. There's a plus and minus on there.
The plus and the minus don't work.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and what I use the 3D view for is, when I want to show my friends hey, check out my rocket design, or if I want to post it on Facebook, hey, I've been working on this rocket, this is what it looks like. Most people don't get the wireframe. Like the average, person who's not into this stuff or CAD, they'll look at it and go, okay, if you say so. But if it looks like a rocket, they go, ooh, that's cool. So that's about the only thing I use the 3D view for.
When you installed it, it does ask to update all of the files that are existing if it finds any. So, and I said, yeah, go ahead, because I'm sure that they're more accurate. And I put it in and I ran some simulations, and there was a little bit of difference in altitude from my original files, which were done in earlier RockSim, and this new update. So I let it do its thing, and so far so good. I haven't seen any problems other than that little 3D thing, which is not a huge deal for me. But it looks like all simulations are running, and I'm able to import engines and do all kinds of stuff, and it seems to be so far so good. So thanks, Tim, for doing that.
Yeah.
This is it seems faster too to me.
Nice.
So on that note, there we have our episode 106 will be a workshop episode. So we'll have another guest with us, and we'll be filling in on what we're up to as well, because I think all of us have some interesting projects to talk about. Yep. So we're going to help out and out of here, so we not to make this any longer than that. On that note, Gene?
Keep your eyes in the skies.
All righty, and keep an eye on the Model Rocket Show. It sounds like the Noob is just about ready to release episode number 1 of the new season of the Model Rocket Show.
Yes.
Which is a really cool one. So he just gave us a heads up that it's about to hit. It's about to drop. So we're going to be working on that one as well. So anyway, we'll see you next time. Have a great one. Stay safe. This has been The Rocketry Show at TheRocketryShow.com.
Have a comment? We'd love to hear it. Send them to mailbag@TheRocketryShow.com. If you enjoyed what you heard, don't forget to check out our sister show, TheModelRocketShow.com. The Model Rocket Show is hosted by the Rocket Noob and is all about low to mid-power rocketry. TheModelRocketShow.com with Daniel, the Rocket Noob. Check it out today. The views and opinions expressed on these programs are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect those of Little Beth Entertainment or its sponsors.